Not hearing you, Apostle.
Not hearing you, Apostle. Not hearing. Apostle, you are muted.
Apostle, you're muted.
All right. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. So we have been talking about that feel of purpose. Okay. And I just want to just lay this for our study tonight. And it basically really focusing on being able to find where you're supposed to function as a son of God, as a child of God. Okay. Because we understand the concept of purpose. All right. Those of you coming on, just keep your mic mute, please. All right. We understand the concept of purpose. Okay. And most of us, we know the definition purpose precedes production. All right. The purpose of the thing was in the mind of the manufacturer before he made the thing. Okay. So what we noted, and I just want to reiterate this as we go forward. All right. What we noted as we look at Genesis, as we look at Adam in terms of how God made Adam and the concept or the structure that was set out in the book of Genesis in terms of is Adam being in that place, the garden is where he planted the garden. Okay, so we established already that the garden is the place of purpose. Okay, God planted the garden. He took Adam, the Adam that he made, and he put him in the garden, which is the what? The place of purpose, which is the field of favor. Okay, all right. When he made Adam, he put some things within Adam. Okay, within us is have gifts and skills, all right, that he placed within us, potential that is in us. And these gifts and skills and talents, all right, when we reach that place of purpose, it is for us to function there. I said to you that it is our responsibility to develop the skill set, the gift set, the tool set, and the mindset. That's our responsibility to develop those things, to identify what is my gift, what is my skills, what is my talent, okay? And your gifts and skills is really clue to your place of purpose or your field of purpose, okay? So establishing those things is really important. Then I made emphasis on when Adam was in the garden, all right, he operated on favor, systems, and strategy, okay? And that's basically how God created the world. God built systems in the world, okay? All right? And with systems, he put principles. So he didn't have to go back and shift anything because the systems he built, all right, literally work for itself. So the concept of us finding our place of purpose in the field of purpose, when we get into that place, is to build systems, okay? Strategies. We established already the favor. We spoke about favor. I shared with you Joseph, all right, who the difference between favor from God and favor from God and man. We saw that with Joseph. These are biblical examples. If we go back and look at them, we could really have a pattern and see how God wants us and expect us to function. Okay, Joseph, when he was with his brothers, his family in Canaan, he experienced the favor of God. He's gifted, but he was experiencing jealousy from his brothers, from his family. Okay, as a result of jealousy and hatred, they sold him, and he was moved to where? Egypt. And Egypt, we said that Egypt was his place or his garden or his field of purpose. Okay, when he touched down into Egypt, he began to experience favor from God, favor from man. He has his gift. I said to you, it was Joseph who built that systems and strategy in Egypt. It was Joseph who caused Egypt to be that economic world power. Okay? Joseph was a Canaanite. So from moving from Canaan, he was moving to Egypt. Egypt, it was his what? Field of purpose. I shared with you, I said, favor from man is God shifting men's opinion, all right, to facilitate you. So the opinion of people, key people, we said key people. Okay, see, because really you want the favor from key individuals. So God is going to what? Shift the opinions of key people, all right, and shift their perspective. So when they see you, they're going to see it the way God sees you and favor you. So in the place or in the garden of purpose, that place where you're supposed to function, you're going to experience what? The favor from God and favor from man. All right? Is that clear so far? Just give me a thumbs up, those of you who are on. Just give me a thumbs up if you're with me, please. All right, just give me a thumbs up on the chat and let me know if you're with me so far. All right, let me see those who are on. All right, wonderful, Marilyn. All right, Jacqueline, Jandal. All right, Betty, wonderful. All right, so that is clear, folks. This is why coming out of this, we noted why purpose is so important. Finding that place where you're supposed to function. Everything you need is going to be in that place. You're going to experience things. All right. And let's go back one more thing to Adam. So while Adam in the garden, he's experiencing he's moving in favor, strategies, and systems. The minute he disobeyed, what happened? Out of the garden, all right, he's moving now based on what? Labor. He's moving based on what? Labor. Okay. He's moving based on what? Labor, strive, and what? Stress. He's moving with that. Somebody please blow your mic. Blow your mic, please. Come on. All right. He's moving in based on that. All right. He's moving based on that. Listen, 1 second here. All right. He's moving based on that. Okay, so no longer he's experiencing favor, he's experiencing with stripes, systems and things. Okay, he's experiencing, all right, he's experiencing what? Labor, because what the Bible says, by the sweat of his brow. So he has to sweat, he has to labor, So which means now there's a way God has set up for us to be effective. All right. Now let's look tonight, because Sunday we touched on this. Sunday in Europe, we went into Daniel, and we look at the transition from how Babylon, the king Nebuchadnezzar, moved the Israelite from Israel into Babylon, from one system to another system. All right. So those of you who are in the Europe area, although we don't stream in that area, I shared with the folks concerning, I took you back to Genesis in the garden with the serpent and with Adam and Eve, how he used what? How he used concepts, okay? And then I show you with in the book of Exodus chapter 1, with that new Pharaoh who came on the scene, how he used force. And then I took them into Daniel with Babylon and Israel, how Nebuchadnezzar used concepts and used ideology just to shift their mindset for 3 years. Why? Because they're coming now, he's moving the children of Israel, Daniel chapter 1, into a Babylonian system. Okay, systems are all over. Now, let's go now. I want to share with you some things on systems. So those of you who are probably, if you're doing business, you're doing ministry, whatever you're doing, okay, you're working to build a system. All right, just like God worked for 6 days and he rests, okay, and what he built up to today, it is working still. So when you begin to work, you want to be able to work for a certain amount of years, but while you're working, you're building a system, because that is the concept of how you're going to leave the inheritance for the 3rd and 4th generation. It's a system. Okay, now let's talk about system. Let's work to build a system. Now, when you're talking about system, you're talking about managing, in terms of managing what is built for the next generation. Okay? So if I'm doing a business, if I'm doing anything, I need to build a system And the key in that is to manage it. Notice when God took Adam and put him in the garden that he planted, Adam's responsibility was to manage, because Adam, man, is a manager. Okay? So you will understand when you build a system, you have to know how to build to build a system for the next generation. You have to manage it. And that is what this system, every season is a system we're talking about. The Bible said he planted the trees, okay? And every season, every season the tree is bearing fruits and it is producing. Why? Because it's a system that God plant into the earth. So when you plant a seed, all right, you activate that principle that is in the system, and the minute that seed touch the soil, guess what? There's a system that was built into the soil, and it begins to go into motion. That's what system is all about. So there's an acronym out there for system. Most of you all probably know it. It means saving yourself what? Time, effort, and money or energy. Okay? That's the acronym for system. Saving yourself what? Time, effort, and money or energy. Now, the ultimate goal, listen to this now, should be to work but rest. All right? In order that we need to build a system. So you work to rest. You work to build a system so you could rest. Okay? Because you don't want to be at a certain age that you're still working. This is why I shared with you how because of Adam's disobedience, he gave up what? Favor for what? For labor. Okay? He gave up what? Strategy for strive, and he gave up system for stress. So when God worked in the beginning, what he did was he built a system and then he rested. The system was what he put in place, so he did not have to go back and work it because it was working for itself. That's the key. The system will work for itself. So built into the system were what? Were principles. So when the principles was activated, the system flowed. I'm going to say it again. Built into the system was what? Principles. So when the principles was activated, the system flowed. Remember, there's a saying we used to say in the Bible, next to every promise, there's a principle or a prophecy to bring that promise to pass. Okay? Notice I said to you one of the teaching, when you read the Bible, there's layers and layers. So as you move one layer, there's another layer. Okay? And you look for what? The principles that are built into the Bible. Because in the principles and the principles are built into the system. So built into the system were what? Were principles, okay? All right. Built into the system was what? What was principles, okay? So when the principles was activated, the system flowed. So let's look at that now. So you have the sea, the sun, the moon, the trees are systems built in place until it's working for themselves because there's a system. No one had to go back to the sea. No one had to go back to the sun. No one had to go back to the trees. When you plant a seed, everything it worked for itself. Did you see how God did things? So he worked and he built a system. It's something he was teaching us. The trees were bearing fruits that produce more fruits. Okay? Because remember, I said to you, in the kingdom, consumption leads to production. Let me say it again. In the kingdom, consumption leads to production. Because the fruit, the more you eat, the more, because when you eat a fruit, there's a seed, and when you plant the seed, there's a tree, there are fruits. So consumption leads to what? To what? Production. Okay? So when the system was in place, he needed now a manager, which is Adam, to manage the system. Okay? So he planted, and then guess what? He took man and he put him in it because man is a manager. We saw that with in the book of Luke. We saw that in the book of Luke, chapter 16, when the Bible says that the master, okay, the master called his servant and what? He give him entrust him his resources to manage it. Okay? So this steward in the book of Luke chapter 16, okay, he was a steward, but the steward responsibility was to manage the resources that the master gave him. Our responsibility is to manage. Okay, because remember, in according to Psalm 8, our purpose, part of our purpose, is to manage an aspect of creation that God has entrusted us with. Okay, because how are you going to leave that inheritance for the next generation if you don't manage what you have now, building a system to manage it? Okay, so in the system, there are principles to use to run the system, so the manager manages the system with the principles and laws. Are you with me there still? The manager manage the system with what? Principles and laws. This is why when you violate the law, all right, when you violate the laws, you throw the system out of order or malfunction. Whenever you violate the laws, you throw the system out of order. Now, how does this apply to us? Stay with me, folks. Okay? How does this apply to us? Now, our responsibility as sons of God is not to work until we die, because we must rest. Okay? So we must now be working to build a system, whether it's $1 million system, whatever, that will have multiple streams or multiple flow. Because notice the Garden of Eden that God planted, there was one river that had 4 streams out of it. This is why finding your field of purpose is important, because there is a river, all right? There's a flow that is going to come forth, that is going to flow into multiple streams, okay? It's going to flow into multiple streams, okay? When you find that place, when you find that area where you were born to function, just like how God planted the garden, the field of purpose, there was one river that flow into 4 streams. Okay, so it's not that you're looking for multiple streams, you're looking for that one place. And as that river, when you find that one river, it's going to flow now into multiple streams. So we don't have to work till to die, to rest. So while we are resting, the system we built will be doing the work for us. Now, I know for some of us, having this concept, because we think a lot of us, sometimes we work. Okay, but now in this time that we are living, the revelation is unfolding, and we are seeing what was there all the time, that God worked. But while he was working, what he was doing, he was building a system. All right, so there are structured explanation of that are parallel to God's creation and rests with our role in building and managing the system. All right, now I want to share some things with you. So if you have a pen, please, I want you to take some note with this tonight. All right, I want you to take some note with this. So let's look at number one. Number one is that God, as the ultimate architect of systems, okay, God is the ultimate architect of system. So what he did, that's the first thing we're going to look at. And we mentioned some of it already. What it is, creation of the world. So in the beginning, God created what? The heavens and the earth. Look at Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1. In the beginning, God created, okay, the heavens and the earth. So over 6 days, he meticulously what? Designed, and he built the world, established various systems. What are the systems? The sea, the land, the vegetation, and all creatures. Now, I'm showing you this, folks, because I want you to see this concept of kingdom mindset that God wants us to function with as sons of God, if we are going to dominate in the sector of society where we function. Because remember, we got to be thinking what? You got to master your field. Okay? Whether you are a seamstress, whether you say, I'm selling something, you got to think mastery. So number one, God as the ultimate architect of system. And if we are sons of God, he expects us to be just like him. All right? Let's talk now about what? Functioning systems. Okay? So each system was crafted to function systematically according to the principles God set in motion. So nothing was going out of order. This is why in the systems you have principles, and in that system you have summer, winter, spring, autumn, fall. You have different seasons. The Bible says as long as the earth remains, there's seed, there's time, and there's harvest. Why? Because he built it like that. Okay? So the functioning of systems. So the sea was filled with what? Fish. The land produced what? Vegetation. And the seasons operate in a cycle of pattern, all without requiring constant intervention. Notice that no one had to go back into to adjust anything. All it needed, it was for someone to manage it. Okay? So you had the function. So the system is function. Are you building something to function? Come on. Are you building something to function? So let's look at what we call rest on the seventh day, because this is I'm showing you this because this is what God did, folks. All right, are you seeing it there? This is what God did. He rests on the seventh day. So after his work was completed, the Bible says God rested on the seventh day. Look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 2 to 3. Okay, the rest wasn't due to fatigue, but a reflection of satisfaction and completion. So he didn't rest because he was tired. He rests as a reflection of satisfaction and completion. The Bible said on the seventh day, he rested. Rest not in the sense of being tired, but rest in the sense of one, satisfaction and completion, and he reflected it. Why? Because he built a system. I want to encourage those of you who are on. Come on. Probably you're into business, probably you're doing something. I want you to think systems. Okay? I want you to think something that you're putting in the work, and then there comes a time where you can rest. Okay? The system he created was what? Self-sustained, self-containing, functioning as designed, and allowing God to rest. What you're going to build must be self-contained and allow you to rest. Are you with me there still, folks? All right? So that's number one. Number one was what? God is the ultimate architect of system. And if God is the ultimate architect of system, we are sons of God, then we are to be also architects of system. Let's go to number two. Are you with me there, folks? Come on. All right. Number two is what? The principle of building and delegating systems. Okay, please, I want you to go back and listen this again. I know for some folks it might be just challenging, all right, but I'm telling you, if you're gonna leave inheritance for the third and fourth generation, if you're building something now, you have to think systems. Okay, so let's look at the principle of building and delegating a system. What are the principles? Our role now as co-creators. Well, remember Genesis, Psalm 8. Part of our purpose is to manage an aspect of creation. Okay, so we are co-creators with God. So just as God worked to establish a system, we are called to build systems in our own lives, business, and communities. These systems should be designed to function effectively, even in our absence. Come on. We were called to build a system. And listen to me, to establish a system, we were called to build a system in our lives. Okay? What? In our business, in our communities, we were called to build this thing. And the system should be designed, what? To function effectively, even in our absence. All right? Now, one of the things I'll tell you to this, folks, go back and read in Genesis. I want you to go back and read when Joseph was down in Egypt, right? And he interpreted a dream, and Pharaoh said, how can we find such a man? All right, and this how can we find such a man like you? He said, you are the man, Joseph, for the job. All right. And so Joseph now, listen to me, Joseph responsibility now, although he interpreted the dream, he had to build now a system in place so that the 7 years of famine will not be squandered, will not waste. Why? Because in the dream, it says there are going to be 7 years of prosperity, but then after prosperity or plenty, there are going to be 7 years of famine. So in the 7 years of prosperity, Joseph had to build a system in place. okay, to sustain Israel, to sustain Egypt for the famine that was coming. Okay, so although he was gifted, notice he didn't just stay with a gift, he was also a strategist. So he built this system in Egypt. Oh, come on. All right. Now I'm saying this to you because remember I said to you, this system should be designed to function effectively even in our absence. Building system. So guess what? We have to build system with purpose. Somebody write that there. You have to build systems with purpose. Whether it's a business system, it's a family or an endeavor, the goal is to create a structure that is self-sustaining, efficient, and productive. Are you with me there still? Let me run that to you again. Folks, so for those of you who are coming, make sure you have something to take some notes. This is Bible study. Okay, this is where now you want to know, we're talking about feel a purpose, we're talking about all that, but we don't know how can I apply this into my life. Okay, building system with what? With purpose. All right, so whether it's a business, whether it's your personal, whether it's family, or any endeavor, let me run it to you again. The goal is to create a structure that is self-sustaining, okay, efficient, and productive. And to do that now, it requires careful planning, wise management, and the establishment of clear principles and guidelines. Are you with me there still? So it's going to take for you to sit down, structure, and think. Put pen to paper, all right? Get in that quiet place and build a system. That is what Joseph did. So he didn't just interpret the dream. He wasn't just gifted, but with the 7 years of plenty, he had to sit down, come on, all right? He had to plan, he had to manage, and clear-cut principles and guidelines so that the people of Egypt wouldn't squander everything. Oh, come on. Are you what I'm saying? Some of us, listen to me, some of us, our problem is not the making of it, our problem is the managing of it. Can you? Because every son of God, every woman of God, you got to be a good manager. Okay? And it's going to take more than, what here is saying, it's going to take more than neology. You know what is neology? Neology is prayer. It's going to take you sitting and thinking. This is why the Bible says God's going to give you an idea. Are you able to structure it? Are you able to sit down, come on, step by step and begin to think? If you want to build a system and to be successful in this present age, the dominator, listen to me, you have to build a system with purpose. Joseph built a system with purpose so that Egypt and the rest of the nation could be sustained based on the structure he implemented. Are you building systems? Are you a good manager? What are some of the managerial skills that you need so that you can manage the resources that is coming to you? Because if you cannot manage 1,000, you will not be able to manage 5,000. If you cannot manage 5,000, you will not be able to manage 100,000. God always trusts you with little. The little will prepare you for more. Somebody say, well, I want more, but can you manage the less? Can you manage what you have? Because what you do with what you have is going to determine what is going to come. And some of you don't know that the little that you have, hear me, the little that you have is really preparation for that which is to come. But if you are mismanaging what you have, then it is showing up that you are not ready for that which is coming. Are you with me there, sir? Come on, somebody give me some love. Give me something there in the chat. Come on, give me something, Jay. If you understand, just put I understand, Apostle. Come on, just put it I understand. I understand. All right? So building systems with what? With purpose. This is why, folks, I'm telling you, when we are doing these courses and we're doing these workshops, come to the stuff because you think everything is neology. You think everything is prayer. I've seen people who are praying good prayers but broke. Good praying people, good spiritual people, but they are broke. Why? Because they refuse to come to get the knowledge to manage because they are bad managers. They are bad manager of time. They are bad manager of resources. They are bad manager of the health. They just cannot manage. And God is saying, listen to me, a daughter, I'm looking at you. I want to trust you with more, but guess what? You can't handle the less that you have. I want to trust you with more, but you cannot handle the little. Come on. Are you getting this, folks? So building systems with what? Purpose. So Joseph built a system with purpose. Okay? So don't just look at Joseph as, yes, he is gifted. Joseph was a strategist. All right? Let's go to number 2. That's number 2. The second point on number 2 is what? Delegation and management. All right? Delegation and management. For those of you who are now coming on, we are looking at now how to build systems. All right? So delegation and management. So after building a system, it is essential now what? To delegate responsibilities to what? To trustworthy individuals who can manage and maintain the system. Woo! Come on. Let's pause for that. Delegation and management. After building the system, notice we go back to etymology, go back to Genesis, chapter 1. 6 days God built. He created the earth. He built a system and put principles in it. Then what? He said, let us make man. He made what? Adam. Then chapter 2, he planted a garden and he took what he made and put it in the garden. Adam was a manager. Okay? Delegation and management. So after building the system, it is essential to what? To delegate responsibilities to what? To trustworthy individuals who can manage, maintain the system. Because when Joseph built the system in Egypt, guess what? They had to what? They had to manage it and they had to maintain it. Why? Because the managing and the maintaining will determine what is going to happen in the 7 years of famine. Come on. And if you then manage the 7 years of prosperity, so what? When the 7 years of famine come upon you, guess what? It's going to waste. You're not going to have anything. Why? Because you did not manage the plenty. Okay? Just as God entrusted Adam with care of the garden, we must empower others to oversee and sustain the system we created. So this is now preparing the next generation to maintain the system that you built. Come on. Preparing the next generation to manage the system that the previous generation built. Are you with me just still? Okay. So what you do now, so you create now an organizational structure where managers oversees daily operation to ensure that business continues to thrive even when you step back. This is where now managers come in. This is where what? Overseers come in. This is where you have a managerial structure comes in. And I'm telling you this, folks, if we're going to operate at the dimension that God wants us to manage and operate in terms of dominion, it's going to take more than theology. Are you understand what I'm saying? Okay? Because one of the things I said to folks, I said to you, I said that and you hear me say this a lot, I said the components for manifestation, it is not spiritual. Come on. So we look in the world and we see individuals that are what? That are dominating, that are taking over. Why? Because the principles are not spiritual. So you have folks who are spiritual and they are not dominating. Come on, they are not the head. And God says, listen to me, daughter, son, I want you to be the head and not the tail. I want you to be above and not beneath. I want you to be in front. I didn't say it. It's the Bible that says it. Come on. Are you ready for this, folks? Are you ready to do what you're supposed to do? All right? To get what is required to function at the level you're supposed to function. I know this could be challenging for somebody, but come on, it's necessary. So creating what? Let me run it to you. You create what? An organizational structure where managers and overseers and operations ensure the business continue to thrive even when you step back. All right? This is what we talk about now. You could rest. Why? Because you build a system. So your children and your children's now is working into the system that you build. You work hard to build a system. Are you catch what I'm saying? All right. So guess what? If it's a family business, you establish routines and values that guides the family. This is where you are built in what values and to guide the system now, allowing it to function harmoniously, whether you are present or not. This is where values and principles comes into play when you build this thing. Are you getting what I'm saying? All right. Let's go to number 3. Entering into rest. All right. Entering into what? Rest. So we talk about number 1 was what? Let's go back to it. Number 1 was what? God is the ultimate architect of systems. And if God is my father and I am an extension of God and I'm a son of God, then I am to be an architect of system. Then number 2, I said to you, principles of building and delegating systems. Our role as co-creators, then building system with purpose, and then I said to you about delegating and management. All right, let's go now to what? To number 3, which is entering into rest. Now, folks, I want you to hear this, and I want you to hear this. Rest as a reward of work. Rest as a reward of work. So once the system is established and properly managed, you can step back and rest. The rest isn't about inactivity, but rather about enjoying the fruits of your labor. That's what the rest is all about. The rest is not about just inactivity, but rather about enjoying the fruits of your labor. When are you going to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Or are you going to work until the 10th hour, the 12th hour? Come on. So just as God observed the goodness of his creation, we can take time and what? Reflect, and we can enjoy the success of the system we have built. The Bible said when God finished, he said it was good, which means he was satisfied and he rest. When are you going to step back and say it is good and rest? Rest is not about inactivity, but rather about enjoying the fruits of your labor. And that's the mindset. Those of you who are on here tonight, and probably in your 30s, your 20s, you're coming up there 40s. I want you to understand that you're not working just for a salary. You are working, my God, to enter into rest. You are working to build a system. So you are doing things.
You're good.
So you are doing things what? Strategically. You are doing things systematically. You are doing things intentionally. Why? Because you understand I am building a system. Come on. All right? The system is working for you. Right? What is working for you? The system is working for you. Okay? Now, a well-built system, let's talk about this now. A well-built system doesn't require constant oversight. It should be designed to operate effectively, producing results and benefits consistently. Okay? So it's not something that you require consistent oversight. Why? Because it was built effectively. So you don't require, my God, consistent oversight and supervision. Why? Because the system was built effectively. All right. So continual oversight while you rest. It is important now to periodically review and ensure the system remains aligned with its original purpose. Okay? Because you're doing it for the next generation. Go back. Listen to me. I'm challenging you all, folks. Go back and read Genesis with Joseph. All right? Read and see how he structured things. And notice what Pharaoh said. And the Pharaoh said, he said to Joseph, he said, Joseph, no hand, no foot could move but by your word. Look at the autonomy and the authority that this king, this heathen king, is given to Joseph, who some years ago was a slave, who came into his dynasty as a slave. Come on. Joseph came into the dynasty of Egypt as a slave. But it don't matter where it is, it was his field of purpose. This is why he could not be stopped. And I'm saying to you tonight, If you find your field of purpose, the place where you're supposed to function, you can't be stopped. You cannot be stopped. Pharaoh said, no hand, no foot will move in Egypt, but by your word. Woo! That's autonomy. Listen to me, that's power right there. Come on. Just years ago, he was in prison. Years ago, he came in as a slave. And it don't matter where your place of purpose is. As long as it is your place of purpose, trust what I'm saying, folks. You cannot be stopped. You cannot be stopped. Come on. And now Joseph is what? Building systems. Okay? He's building systems. So what? So I was talking to you about what? What continual oversight. Where you rest, it's important to periodically review and ensure the system remains aligned with its original purpose. All right? So adjustment may be necessary, but the bulk of the work has already been done. And if you go back now with Joseph, you'll realize that when the 7 years of famine came, they had to make adjustment. And the people were only coming to Joseph. Joseph, the grain is finished. He's making adjustment. He already built a system. He built a system in the 7 years of plenty. And the system he built was preparation for the 7 years of famine. When the 7 years of famine came, when they were going through the famine process, guess what? He had to make slight adjustment. Okay? It's recorded in the book of Genesis. Okay? But because he built this thing in place, all he had to do was make slight adjustment. So adjustment may be necessary, but the bulk of work has already been done. Okay? Let's go to number 4. The cycle of creation, delegation, and rest. Let's talk about that. The cycle of what? Creation, delegation, and rest. So, which means now you're talking about repeat the process. So once you have successfully built the system, you can use the principle, learn to create additional systems in other areas of your life. Which means once you build a system, you could recreate that system in other areas of your life. Come on. A business system, a family system, a ministry system. As long as you build a system, you could recreate that system in different aspects of your life. But it's going to take time. And this is what the enemy is fighting. Why? Because he wants every son of God to be dominated by the Babylon system. Come on. Because many of us, remember, we function in this world under a Babylonian system. Your work is controlled by a Babylon system. So we talk about Babylon system, Babylon system. Babylonian system is all over. Come on. You get up, they tell you when to get up, when to reach the work, when to take lunch, when to finish work, when to leave. It's a system. You're in a system. But understand, as a son, we also have a kingdom system. And I'm challenging those of you who are on, know the system of the kingdom. Come on. All right. Okay. So once you have successfully built it, all right, the system, you can use the principle. So each system adds to each other. Now, so you're talking about legacy, you're talking about multiplication. Over time, the system you build can multiply and be passed down to others, all right? Creating what we call a legacy that continues to function and bear fruit even beyond your lifetime. So the next generation come, they may not build over the system, but guess what? They make adjustment to the system to enhance the present structure and what they are facing. Okay, so you're building something. What? So you're talking about legacy. You're talking about multiplication. Now you say, Dr. Cummins, why am I talking about this? Because if you go back to Genesis chapter 1, all right, he said, "Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion." All right. How are you going to multiply, subdue, and have dominion and all that stuff? That whole concept is talking about having a system in place. Because God expects us to multiply. He expects us to what? To subdue and have dominion. All right? And number 5, let's talk about number 5. Number 5 is application. All right? So building systems in everyday life. Okay? So identify areas for system creation. Okay? So if you're going to build a system, what are some of the areas you can identify in your life, all right, for system creation? What are some of the areas in your life that needs a system? So, application, homework. All right. Identify some of the areas in your life, all right, for system creation. So you look at areas in your life or business where you can create self-sustaining system. Look at what area in your life. No, I'm asking you this question, but you have to ask yourself this question and you have to answer it. What are some of the areas in your life that you can look at areas of life or business that you can create self-sustained system? So this might involve what? Automating process, developing teams, or establishing routines. That's just some ideas I give you, all right? So this might involve that. So design, so you sit down now and you design it with purpose. Are you getting what I'm saying there? All right? Okay? So be intentional in designing of your system. Okay? Ensure it aligns with your goals, values, and that is scalable and that is sustainable. I'm going to say it again. Now, this is the challenging part, folks, because this is where you have to sit down and pen paper. You have to really now think. You have to, what area in your life needs a system? What area in your life, all right, that you can design a system that needs system, all right? Delegate and empower. Be intentional in designing what? Systems. Ensure it aligns with what? Your goals. Because you're building a system that aligns with your goals and your values. So then you have to know your goals, you have to know your values, that are what we call scalable and that are sustainable. Scalable means that it's multiplying. Sustainable means that it's lasting. All right, so it's going to be based on that. Then you talk about delegate and empower. So trust others to manage the system, providing them with what? The tools and the guidance they need to succeed. Okay, so if it's a business, it's going to be a team. Okay, enjoy the fruits, take time to rest, reflect and enjoy the benefits of the system you have created. Now, I'm sharing this with you folks, but you know it's going to take some time. It's going to take more. It's going to take you taking some classes, taking some courses, reading some books, all right? But I challenge those of you who are on. I want you to begin to think systems. When you find your field of purpose, all right, remember everything that you need is in that place. All right? And keep in mind, rest is part of the what? The process, allowing you to recharge and prepare for the next venture. All right? So this structure, what it mirrors creation narrative, showing how we can emulate God's method of creation, delegating and resting by building systems that work for us, allowing us to enjoy the fruits of our labor. All right? It's right there. I think somebody will look at like David. Remember King David? David was what? He was a territory taker. All right? He defeated the lion, the bear in private, and it qualified him to establish him in public in terms of taking territory. The lion is one of the systems he dealt with in the wilderness, which is also known as what? A territorial beast. All right? When you look at David's life, all right, reign, he conquered and took control of nations around him, and he set up systems. He also established dominion. That is what David did. Okay, so go back and read the patriarchs. And I always say this to you, David wasn't just killing people and taking, no, he set up a system. And it was so successful that when Solomon came on the scene, he didn't have to fight a battle. There were peace. Not even the nations that David fight came up against Solomon. That's the system that David built. All right? And those of you who are on, you are building a system for the next generation. All right? I want to stop here tonight. I hope that this study, all right, had enlightened you a little bit. Go back to the drawing board. Sit with your structure. Look at your life. the things that God has entrusted you. Let's go back. Make sure that your clue, your gift sets is going to be key, a clue to your field of purpose. Don't neglect it. Some of you are working on a job, all right, and it's not your field of purpose, but it's a job that is playing you. Don't neglect the gift sets that God built within you. Don't neglect the untapped potential that is inside of you. Don't neglect it, folks. Although you're working for a job and you're getting a salary and you're paying your bills, remember, life is more than paying bills, buying a house, and buying a car. All right? Find your field of purpose. And everything you need in life is going to be in that place. All right? Build systems, structures, and strategies. And remember, God is going to favor you with God and with man. All right? Blessings, everyone. Thank you for coming on tonight. And I pray that this session tonight was really, really a blessing. All right? Stay blessed. And I always say, don't ever stress. Tomorrow, please, God, tomorrow we're going to be in the Europe area for our the Boss series. All right, has been really, really going tremendous. Those of you who are in need of